You know, I don't know what it is, if it's something that is just inside every human who has that drive to be an entrepreneur. I know some young kids who started their own recording studios, and they didn't spend their money on a car or some fancy wheels or anything like that. They'd buy a new $5,000 microphone rather than a set of big shiny wheels to go on their car. And they were willing to ride around in old hoopties or old cars just like any other businessman who is plowing money back into their business. And now they got GMAC computers and big boards and Sennheiser mics and all kinds of stuff. So what that personal drive in them and how they develop it is hard to finger, but I think that's true of any entrepreneur that has that internal drive. It's something you can't put your hand on, and I think it's something that can be developed, but we've got to show young people that a big car and some fancy wheels are not necessarily the first thing that you ought to buy if you're trying to build your own business. Just across the street at Carnegie Mellon University, there have been so many young startups that have gone on to more fertile markets in Boston and other places where they're getting the kind of support that they need to keep those businesses and grow them here. So I don't think that the biggest challenge is startup. The biggest challenge is sustainability. I think Pittsburgh's biggest asset to help people stay here are the people, to tell you the truth. This is a great community. It's a big city with a small town atmosphere. You get to know a lot of the people who are movers and shakers, and a lot of deals can be done on a handshake and who you know. That's an advantage you can't get in New York or LA. It does take some of us out with a light showing them which way to go. Don't go that way. It's a little bumpy over here. You'll have a smoother road if you go this way. And so I think people who, like you and I, who are a little bit farther along the program that you're running, showing them where to go and what to do. I've been downtown with young men and looked up at big buildings and said, you know what kind of decisions are being made up there about all these people? And then we've gone up there for some meetings, and this is the first time they had this view where they're looking down and seeing people catching the bus and going about their business. I said, people in these offices are making decisions that will affect all those people's lives. Now, do you want to be one of those little ants down there moving around, or do you want to be one of the decision makers? So it's up to older people to show these younger people what they need to do, and then it's going to be up to the younger people to listen. They don't have to take all the advice, because some of it could be given out of love for them and not wanting to see them get hurt, and then they've got to take that advice and mix it in with what they want to do and become successful. Well, what I tell young people is they have a better chance of being the first black man to land on the moon than of being a football or a basketball player. I think there are less than 6,000 people across the United States who make their living as pro athletes. That's counting football, basketball, and just about everything else you can name. And so if they immerse themselves in business or the sciences, and they become the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of business that he was to basketball, or to use a more modern figure, you know, any of the basketball players that are out there now, from Jordan to any of the rest, they have to apply those same kind of skills. They got to practice. They've got to get good at what they do, and the only way to do that is to practice, practice, practice. So just like you practice shooting a basketball or throwing a football or hitting a tennis ball, you practice business, you practice science, you practice being a pilot. Surround yourself with those people who are successful in those fields, and sooner or later you'll be one. You've got to look long term. Yeah, you can get a football letter, you can be the most popular. Even pro athletes will be very successful money-wise, but how long does that last? The average running back in the NFL lasts 3 years. That's not long enough to get a pension. You got to be there 5 years. I didn't get successful. I was in this town 13 years before, and on TV, before people even knew who Chris Moore was. Now people say, oh, Chris Moore. Well, it takes longer, but if I were a pro athlete, my career would have been over 40 years ago. But now I'm in the prime of my game and still shoot. I will take you to the hoop. Verbally, mentally, I'm armed and dangerous, but only with my mind. My knees are failing me right now. I couldn't play ball if I wanted to, but my mind is still sharp as a tack, and I'm beating people every day at the game I play, whether they become an entrepreneur or not. You've got to know the basics in terms of writing skills and math and all the rest that goes with education. When you're armed and dangerous up here, nobody can take that away from you unless you fall and have a concussion. You'll always be armed and dangerous with your mind, and that beats being armed and dangerous with a pistol.